Yeah, wouldn't lens. We back with another one for the youths in them. Yeah, young, brilliant minds, future in sight. Got the power to make change, make the world ignite. Let nobody say you can't achieve. Your dreams are seeds, so and just watch them grow. But you gotta believe in the youth effect. We're raising up the youth effect. Can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Educate, we get the key, unlock the potential. A lesson every day, knowledge essential. Standing tall, walking proud, let your voice be heard. Unite together as one, spread the love with every word. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Educate, we get the key, unlock the potential. A lesson every day, knowledge essential. Standing tall, walking proud, let your voice be heard. Unite together as one, spread the love with every word. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Create, initiate, push through, no limits. Go ahead and live it up. Respect, positivity, you on your way. Break down walls, build bridges. Yeah.
And it's another Monday. Happy Monday, happy new week. I hope you're having a great time for the new year. We're into 2025, in case you forgot. And my name is Kathy Robinson, and I'm your host of the Youth Effect. This is a program amplifying the voices of the youth and being a conduit for the expressions of the youth, embracing them in everything that they go through, in their experiences, their challenges, in helping us also to bridge the gap. You're looking at us either on Facebook, on TDN Network 1, on YouTube, on Instagram. You're either also looking through my Facebook live feed at Kathy Robinson Peter. You could be looking at us on TDN Radio Caribbean on Facebook also, youtube.com TDN Network 1, and on V-Streams TDN TV 24. All right. And you are watching and listening again, tdnradio.net. Also, thank you to our guests who are looking at us on Radio Toronto and through Instagram on TDN Radio Caribbean. Thank you so much for returning to our program where we advocate for with the youth, with an advocacy by the youth. You're watching again the Youth Effect, and tonight we have a very interesting young lady by the name of Judy Sango. And she is going to be speaking to us from the lovely Caribbean island, the nature island of the Caribbean, Dominica, and speaking on amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. Yes, we know that's a mouthful. So what exactly this is all about? People with disabilities have had an ongoing fight in terms of making it known that they are not disabled. They have a disability, and a disability is not an inability. All right. So it's just like you're sick and you haven't got a part of your body to use. However, other parts of your body, and if you're especially persons who have challenges of sight, their sense of hearing is amplified. So other parts of their being is amplified to help guide them and to help them to survive. And we're going to welcome Miss Sango in explaining to us. This was the theme for December for the Persons in Disability Month in Dominica. Was it not? Yes. So we can start by you introducing yourself and telling us who you are.
Good evening to all. Good evening to you, Miss Robinson. It's a pleasure to be the guest on Youth Effect this evening, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion whereby we can sensitize the public, the listening public, on the whole idea of disability not being an inability. I am Judy Sango, a 24-year-old from the lovely Caribbean island of Dominica. I am a law student, a motivational speaker. I am also an author and the youngest president of the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities, amongst a whole host of other titles.
Oh, there you go. You carry many hats.
Certainly.
Very, very good. Congratulations in all of those things.
Thank you.
Well, that's a little thing. Okay, yeah, you said you're an author. Give us
Yeah.
a little bit of some of your writings.
Well, I am a new author. I became an author on June 1st of 2024 when I published my first children's book, which is titled The Girl Who Walked Differently. This is a book that chronicles my life. Um, Especially as someone who grew up with the condition arthrogryposis, which continues to affect me to this day. And this book basically encourages children that, hey, look, we are all different, but at the end of the day, we can all use our differences for good, and we should never allow others, to basically hold the keys to our happiness and success. Though we are all different, we all possess his unique talents and abilities that can be used.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Where can we find your book though?
My book is currently available on Amazon in both the paperback format as well as the Kindle formats.
Oh, very interesting. Good, good, good. Was it a self-published book, may I ask?
No,
Oh,
my book was published by the Millage Publishing Group out of British Columbia, Canada.
okay. Awesome. Good job. Good work.
Thank
I
you.
love that for you. Tell us also, could you break down for us um how your disability, how you came through your disability? Were you born with this disability or was it developed after a period of time?
Well, for me, I was born with a disability. I was born prematurely. And so that means that I spent the first 2 months of my life in the hospital, basically, fighting for my survival. So arthrogryposis is a condition that affects my ability to walk and or stand for a prolonged period of time, thus requiring the use of a wheelchair. However, I am able to move about without the use of my wheelchair in environments that I am most familiar with. This is a condition that affects my everyday life. Nonetheless, I make a conscious effort daily to never allow my disability to define or determine who I am and what I do with life.
What are some of the challenges you experienced growing up with friends, the environment, people who were not used? I believe our society, though we have quite a few people with disabilities, it's never gotten accustomed to. People with disabilities are always stared at or made fun of. Or what was your experience growing up, or even now?
So for me, one of the primary challenges that are associated with my disability is bullying. And as I like to say, as a person with a disability, bullying is inevitable. I have been bullied all my life, but like I said earlier, I make a conscious effort every day that despite the negative actions and perceptions of other people,
Mhm.
to to remain confident in my ability and in God's ability to create for me the life I've always dreamt of. And so every day I maintain that spirit of gratitude that, hey, look, life is not perfect, but life is good and God does all things how he sees fit. And so I basically count my disability every day as a blessing in disguise because there are persons who would love to be in my situation and they are worse stuff.
That's a very, very good mindset to find yourself in. A spirit of gratitude and thankfulness
Certainly.
carries a long way. Um, so you said that you were born with this, and
Yes.
you're 24 now, and you're the president of the association. So let me blow my trumpet. I don't know if you know, but Reggie was my uncle. and
Certainly, I
Reggie and
hear
Ashley, yes, being the so I
you.
also grew up with disability around me. So it is some level of disability. And one of a very good friends of mine was also got disabled a little later down in her lifetime, but she has gone through it so much, embraced it and developed herself, which is a living testament that disability is not inability. I
Certainly.
saw Reggie and Nathalie do so much, and through them, the association blossoming and growing, and so many people have gotten purpose with their lives to understand and to accept and embrace it as well as not a limiting factor or a limiting thing in their life, but also it's just a small obstacle, which is what I'm hearing that you're saying. Tell
Yeah.
us how you have um, used it in terms of you being the president, the youngest president now. How does
Mhm.
that, of course, it's a proud thing for you, the
Yeah.
way you said it. Tell us how you function within such an organization and also the challenges of moving forward in the society. What is the feedback you get from the society?
Certainly, for me, it's a proud thing to be the youngest president of the APD, especially in its 41-year history. For me, I, based on my interaction with the public, um, I can say that it's pretty good. However, one of the major challenges that we face, of course, is, people's perception of disability. And as time goes on, the APD continues to do its very best in trying to get the general public to understand that, hey, look, a disability is just something we have. Our lives and who we are is so much more than just that limiting factor, than just that disability. So that's pretty much the main challenge. But for me, as president of the APD, it has been a lovely journey thus far. One that I really enjoy, getting to interact with other persons with disabilities. It has really, broadened my scope of thinking. It has allowed me to serve and to contribute in a meaningful way, which is something I've always done, and I want to continue to do. So being the president of DAPD is such a lovely opportunity and something that I would not trade if I had the choice to.
Nice, nice. So, it is a very interesting journey. For years, I had the opportunity to learn to read Braille because I also used to have NAFU, we call it NAFU,
Mhm.
in the early days.
Yeah.
Um, when she did her reports, she does the Braille and I write it out and, learn a little
Yeah.
different things. It helped me also to, even though my uncle grew up with him being a paraplegic, oh my goodness, if you had known Reggie, the world wasn't big enough to hold Reggie, you know. And he would be very, very proud of seeing a young person like you take up the mantle of leading the organization, and which falls right smack into the theme of tonight, amplifying the leadership of persons, taking up the mantle and going for forging forward. In terms of that leadership, part of the thing we talk about so much of an inclusive society.
Mhm.
Where do you see Dominica? First off, then we'll talk about the world. Where do you see Dominica being as part of an inclusive society and welcoming um, persons with disabilities and facilitating the easy access, easy movement, even employment opportunities for persons with disabilities?
Well, while much has been done in an effort to, um, provide a sense of equality for persons with disabilities and other marginalized groups, I must say that much remains to be done. Especially because, and I am going to make the justice call, which is at the very heart of the disability movement, not just here in Dominica but globally.
Yeah.
While Dominica has signed on to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, much has not been done. For example, um, Dominica still has no existing legislation for persons with disabilities. So while there are certain areas in our laws that protects persons with disabilities, we are not entirely protected. I still also feel that there's much work to be done in terms of our accessibility and our building codes. And there's much to be done, in shifting our whole perception to understand that, hey, look, at any given point each and every one of us can and will at some point in our lives acquire a disability, be it temporary or permanent.
Yes, that is a very, very good point. There are a lot of policies that still need to come on board. Could you tell us one of the leading policies that is driving the organization now in terms of taking it to government to implement for easy access or
can you
easier access?
can you rephrase that question? I'm
Yes,
not quite understanding.
understand. Okay. I'm asking if you right now, what policies you all have before the government to or advocating for in accommodating accessibility for persons with disabilities in Dominica. Was that a little bit clearer?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Well, currently, we continue to advocate for for a legislation, and we are not just speaking partial legislation, but a disability act that would guarantee the total protection of persons with disabilities, because this is one of the things that is quote unquote non-existent in Dominica, but also in terms of accessibility, physical accessibility, although a few years ago there was some revision done to all building codes, it is not totally accessible, especially when you are, in certain places and you need to access certain important, businesses and, government facilities. They are not accessible, and so this remains just some of our primary areas of focus as we continue our advocacy efforts in 2025 and beyond.
Especially our sidewalks.
Certainly.
Especially sidewalks. One
Certainly.
of our guests, welcome, 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 and thank you for joining us. Just said that all buildings and sidewalks and should be accessible through wheelchair accessibility. I know some of the banks, yeah, all buildings should have wheelchair access and sidewalks should be able to accommodate wheelchairs. Yes, very,
Yes.
very, very true. We cannot um,
Hmm.
shout it loud enough, you know, because many times persons with wheelchairs, even though we do not have a high percentage of people with
Hmm.
using wheelchairs, or maybe we're not seeing them because of the lack of access. Maybe we're not seeing the amount of people who are using wheelchairs because of the lack of access. But when they do come out, they have to be in the road. I remember my uncle, he would go in the middle of the road to make his point, and vehicles would be at the back of him blowing their horns. But after a while, they got to know Reggie. So when Reggie's on the road with Nathfo at the back with him, they would just take their time and drive slowly, because his thing was to make a point. There is no access for me to go on the side of the road. My health and safety also is just as important as the next person.
Certainly.
So I'm going to use the road, you know. And even
Certainly.
for even persons with who are visually impaired, who have to use their
Yes.
their sticks,
Yeah.
the sidewalks are so not accommodating.
It's
They are
not.
right. Steps are in the road. People put their the vendors also have their stuff on the sidewalks. It's really not safe.
Yes.
What is something you've seen that can be done in the meantime?
Um, well, I think first and foremost, the government needs to revisit its construction policies, because we know that the government is primarily responsible for the constructions of roads and sidewalks. So, firstly, revisit the construction policies that exist. And secondly, we need to also always involve persons with disabilities in the discussions that
Discussions,
take
yes.
place when we are constructing roads and stuff like this. Like we like to say at BAPD, nothing nothing for us without us, so to speak. So if you are doing something that is to benefit persons with disabilities at all times, there should be discussions with persons with disabilities. And I will say that when we do these constructions and stuff like that, they don't only benefit persons with disabilities who are Dominicans. It benefits our visitors. It benefits, quote unquote, the normal person in society. And so, we have to do this not just for us who are persons with disabilities, but also for others, because it benefits us all. And if
And
we and if we do it once, we don't have to do it twice.
yes, that's true. The hardest part is always starting, but when you start, there's a continuation factor that keeps it sustainable.
Certainly.
So, as I just said, it was sustainable. Um, to let Could you speak to the amount of young people that are involved in the association and how vibrant or active they are at this moment?
Well, as president of the APD, I can say that there are a few young persons who are very, very active in the association's activities, myself being involved. You know, and I must say hats off to my treasurer and probably one of my favorite persons, Mrs. Murphy, who is most likely watching. You know, persons like Mrs. Murphy are the people who really got me involved in the APD. And Mrs. Murphy and others continue to be a mentor to us, the young people. And so, the young people at the APD are quite active in in the movement and in the advocacy efforts.
Hi, Mrs. Murphy. Hi, Napo. Napo will always be my auntie. And Mr. Murphy. So let me give a hats off and a shout off to NAFO, Mrs. Murphy, Mr. Murphy, and all the other people of the Dominican Association of Disabled Persons and all their stakeholders and liaisons and who help them very, very much. I know Sister um, Tina Alexander is also a big part in who her organization is very supportive of the Dominica Associations of Persons with Disabilities. Hats off to all what you all are doing and
Thank
going
you.
forward with it, making it a continuum of experiences and advocacy for those who are coming behind in this to making it sustainable. What
Certainly.
would you like to see as a young person in making the association more vibrant in and being more visible?
I would like to ask the general public, to be more accommodating to persons with disabilities. A lot of times we like to think that, persons with disabilities, they don't want to do things, or we are not as, community present as we should be. However, this also has to do with the reception that we sometimes get from the general public. And so I would like to ask, that person just be a little bit more accommodating. Perhaps you can get involved with us in sharing the whole message of advocacy and amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities. Of course, I call on our governments to do a lot better in terms of employment of persons with disabilities, the education of persons with disabilities, and just every aspect that contributes to a person with a disability's life. I mean, there are so many things we think of them as insignificant, but each and every one of us has a part to play in ensuring that the message of advocacy and inclusivity and equality goes out. And so I just want to urge everybody to come forward and find out where you can be of help and assistance to, if not all, but at least one person with a disability. Let's leave nobody behind.
Is there, could you list some of yours activities that you have in terms of awareness?
All right. So um every year DAPD has the annual Dollar Day, which is typically held around the time of October, um, but it is launched most times in September, and it would run until the 31st of every year, whereby the APD uses the opportunity to raise funds, at least $1 from every person, to help contribute to the association's, activities and important services that it continues to provide for its members. We also use the opportunity to visit some of the communities and host donation drives and share information about disability. Also, DAPD have a lot of its fun activities such as cricket for the blind, where persons can come by, and we are always willing to share, information about disability. And so wherever the APD is, I'm sure that if you come and you need information and you ask for it, we will be more than happy to provide it.
You mentioned cricket for the blind. Some people might say cricket, but I remember when that first cricket team was made. Tell us some more about that cricket team and how involved they are and how much travel they have been in competing with other islands.
Um, well, um, as of recently, um, our Cricket for the Blind program has not been as active as it should be, and this is due to challenges that the association continues to face, like every other civil society organization. Nonetheless, DAPD does have its Cricket for the Blind program, and this is where persons get the chance to engage in cricket and travel and get to play with other teams and meet other persons with disabilities and interact. um I have not been personally to any cricket for the blind games, but I do plan at some point to
Okay.
to,
Yeah. Mhm.
view a game or two and learn a thing or two.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when people might wonder how they do it, but when they're batting and they have to make a run, there will be someone, an able person who would run down with them or run back. It was very interesting. Um, One of the things, a thought just came to me in terms of
Mhm.
awareness. I don't know if you all do that, but it would be interesting to have a disabilities, not inability day where the general public, you can go to the center of town or whatever and just do a pop-up thing and allowing people to be quote unquote have a disability form, maybe just 2 hours, because I don't think they'll be able to do it for a day. They, like put a blindfold or tie their
Well,
leg. Do you all do that?
DAPD hosts its Dinner in the Dark, which gives the general public an opportunity to experience um, disability as anybody who suffers from blindness.
Mhm.
DAPD also hosts its White King Day, where it visits the community and it allows persons to experience. just a little bit of what persons with blindness go through using their white cane. So we do programs like this,
And
and
what
they have
days are
been,
these held?
um it's at some point in October.
Well, during the month
Yes.
of awareness, a month of awareness.
Mhm.
Okay. What about other activities like paraplegic, having to be able to use a wheelchair, or maybe having to use crutches or things like that? Because sometimes,
I'm not too sure about this. As one can probably tell, I'm still new.
yes,
Although this is my second time being president, but I'm still new to this.
of course, it'll be interesting to do that. Maybe
Yes, certainly.
I would be interesting for me to see. We just go to an organization, of course, um, work it out with the managers or whoever, and have persons who come in, or even maybe someone who works. Doesn't necessarily have to be in October, but to
Yeah,
have a year throughout the year awareness
yes.
of that, because your disability is not on is
Yeah,
permanent. Yeah, you have to live with it throughout the year. So somebody comes to a place and just, okay, you're blind until you leave this place. You blindfold them and let them go about trying to conduct their transactions
yeah,
and see how it feels for them, and let them know, feel hands on how this can be very uncomfortable and frustrating when you do not have the necessary facilities to accommodate you doing normal work, you know,
yes.
doing normal work. So, uh, tell so I want to, before we continue, I want to really thank you for coming on with us. And here we have, I got to interrupt myself, we have Cheryl Plummer, who I was referring to before earlier on, and she asked, what's the question? Cheryl, was the question, you mean, was it, we were talking about amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities, for an inclusive and sustainable future. And we are talking about how we can go about right now elevating the awareness of persons in normal everyday life, which is what I just said about, maybe do it sometime, maybe just a pop-up anytime during the year, you know,
Yeah.
of you're disabled for a few minutes. We're going into this organization today, and this is what you're facing with. Because have you come across, so you have had your disability from
Mhm.
birth, so you grew up with it.
Yes.
What is the experience of persons who have come into a disability later on in their life? What has been the experience for you, or have you faced that experience with others?
Um, of course. I have interacted with a few persons who have acquired the disability later on in life, and what I find most times, especially when it's a young person, it's of course a difficult thing to navigate. But as president of the APD and as someone who have lived with my disability for 24 years, I of course try to be of support as much as I can for them. And I always let people know that a disability is not the end of the world. And as I like to say in my own saying, a disability is not a death sentence. It is only a doctor's diagnosis. And there's so much more to life than, we can't even imagine. And I always encourage people, while this is while this is tough for every one of us, having a disability, I encourage people all the time to put their trust and confidence in God. For God knows why all things happen, and in his time, not ours, all things would be made perfect.
Great. That's such a powerful mindset and way to go, Miss Sango. But with regards to like counseling for people, because it can also, it's understandable that we can say God understands, but at the same time, people can get angry at God for letting
Yeah,
those things happen to them. And at the same time, to people, this also can make people turn away from God, you know.
yeah.
Are there other ways or other things that we have in place or thinking about considering putting in place or associations working with you all in terms of providing counseling and therapy?
Not that I am aware of. However, I can say from my interaction with a few persons that I sense, the reluctance to, sometimes speak to other people, especially people who do not understand that what we go through on a day-to-day basis is challenging. So there's always that reluctance, especially when persons have not had, the experiences that we are having. But of course, like I always say, there's much work to be done, and this is definitely things that are being looked into
So you, in yours plan of action, you have all these things in terms of providing therapy for people.
and continuing to be of support. Yes.
Great, great stuff. Okay, so you mentioned earlier on, as we're talking about therapy, one thing leads to the next. You mentioned earlier
Hmm.
with regards to providing employment, the government providing employment and education.
Hmm.
Tell us
Yes.
what you would like to see in terms, or what the association would like to see or advocating for in terms of providing education. What's the range of services they would like to see for different types of disabilities?
Certainly. For education, which is at which is near to my heart, because I am involved, unemployed in the education sector as a tutor. I would definitely like to see not just, the construction or special education institutions, which are good on their own, but I would also like to see, the the integration of persons with disabilities or students with disabilities into the regular classrooms. I think a lot of times we focus too much on the segregation of students with disabilities rather than allowing and giving them the tools to be able to function independently, where the case may be, with other students who, perhaps don't have a disability. For me personally, I was fortunate to be in the public school system, so I did not go to school in quote unquote the disability schools. I attended public school, and I in primary school especially, I remember, there were other students who, was not given the opportunity to basically be integrated into quote unquote the normal classroom.
Okay, Cheryl used to be very much involved with the APD when she was back home too, and she is
Oh,
saying that there was a weekly program on DBS raising awareness for disability. Is that something you would like to bring back, or something that you would
certainly,
like to do?
certainly.
Yes. So
Because I see the importance in, sharing information, not just when the Disability Awareness Month arises in December for us to celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, but I would very much like to see, the continued dissemination of information throughout the year. Because a
mhm,
disability is not just something we live with every December, it is an
right.
everyday thing.
It's an everyday
Yes.
life is life in with a disability, you know. It doesn't, it's there, it's in your face. What support services? Okay, so the therapy and therapy sessions is something that you said you would like to see more of. The education sector, employment, what other support services you believe is definitely needed for persons with disabilities,
Um,
Dominica?
like I said earlier, employment. I find that in Dominica, especially when you go to business places, especially the government. the public sector. I have a great problem with this because whenever I visit a business that is owned by the state, um, I don't see a lot of persons with disabilities being employed, and that's a problem for me because I know that there are persons with disabilities out there who are capable of being of service, even with a disability. And, it's sad to say that not many persons with disabilities are gainfully employed. And, of course, if we are to build a sustainable future, like our topic for tonight says, then we must look at those things. If we are building sustainability and we are on course to becoming the world's first climate resilient country, we must also look at the resilience of our people and whether or not our people, you know, are able to contribute meaningfully, and with the absence of the opportunities to do so, we will never be able to. And so, of course, this is one of the greatest areas of concern for me as a young person with a disability, because if we are looking towards, becoming resilient and climate resilient, we must first look at the resilience of the people, because with the absence of the people being resilient, it just means that we are aimlessly constructing, resilient facilities.
I like how you wove the two together. That was absolutely brilliant because the people are those who make up the resource. The structures are
Certainly.
just that, but the people bring everything and weave everything together. You are so, so right with that. And with that thought, we're going to take a break. Remember, you're looking at the youth effect. I am Kathy Robinson with my guest, Miss Judy Sango, President of the Dominic Association of Persons with Disabilities. And when we come back, we're going to speak more about disabilities on a more global stage. Okay, so stay
Certainly.
tuned. Let's get a word from our sponsors.
A smart house run by a vengeful AI, a mute witness to an act of unspeakable evil. A breadfruit thief is haunted. A young man unwittingly creates a god. Giant crapos terrorize a community. A witch seeks revenge on her neighbors, and much more. The Piton Noir Writing Collective is thrilled to announce the release of the third book in their acclaimed anthology series, The Flying Crapo. Flying Crapo, Heroes and Monsters. Now available for purchase on Amazon.com. Get your copy today and embark on a journey filled with heroes, monsters, and the magic of the Caribbean. Get ready for an electrifying thriller. A fearless New York attorney takes on corrupt corporate giants fighting for the powerless. Can this seasoned attorney and his team take down a monstrous company and its powerful leader? What will be the final verdict? What price will our heroes pay? Find out as you turn the pages of The Trust by Sam George. Get your copy of The Trust today from Amazon.com.
Hi, and welcome. Welcome back. As we said, we're speaking to Miss Sango, the 24-year-old president of the Dominica Association of Disabled Persons, and we are speaking on amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. We hear the word inclusivity and equality all over. It's like a trending word, but it's not only trending, but it's the reality of so many people. And how do we go forward being a little island in a little basket? We know it's with the UN has the, let me get it there. the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and which was adopted in 2006, that promotes the rights and dignity of persons with disabilities. You spoke earlier with regards to the UN, right? And its impact and all the involvement. How involved, how would I say, is, do you know if Dominica is a signatory to that
Yes,
treaty?
Dominica signed on to and later ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Okay. And so I know in all those conventions and everything else, there would be a list of an action plan that would need to get done within a particular time frame.
Mhm.
How how has this been incorporated or implemented?
Well, I will just say for Dominica, there is work to be done. Well, I currently know that based on recent discussions that currently a lot of countries and Dominica included have not done the necessary reportings when they should be done, and so currently the UN has a backlog, sadly, and are still waiting on countries to report, and a lot of the countries regionally have not done their duties, and it is sad to say that my home country has not done its own, and so I am hopeful that we will do what needs to be done, because here we are not just speaking of a document that was signed, we are speaking of the lives of persons with disabilities that continue to be affected daily. And for me, this is a topic of passion, not just as a person with a disability, but also as a law student. This is a passion for me, because we are speaking of a legal framework, and something that should bring about change. And it's sad, but I'm hopeful that with our continued advocacy, that much will be done.
Is that something that was your disability? I will say yes. How was your disability impactful in making a decision to go into law?
Um, well, ever since I was 3 years old, I wanted to become a judge. I guess way before I fully understood that what a disability really was. Um, but it was quite impactful. And it was one of the main reasons why I decided to go into law. Um, for me, I understand that law and justice is at the center of the global disability movement, and also because I wanted, you know, every time, or most times rather, the quote unquote normal people in society looks at persons with disabilities, we tend to see persons with disabilities as basically negative statistics. And as a young child, I always had in mind that I will never become a negative statistic, because we like to look at persons with disabilities um as quote unquote those who are reliant on others. And I wanted to portray the message to the world that, hey, look, a disability does not and should never define what a person does with their life. And so my love for law grew, and I hope to use this passion, of course, to effect change and to break barriers in modern day.
Great stuff. I cannot wait to see you fighting if you're in the courtroom,
Certainly.
creating, yeah, helping to draft up laws and
Certainly.
policies, as we say, would change the legal landscape of where persons with disabilities can function normally in society and contribute as they should, how they should, without any judgment by anybody else. Excuse me. In the world, there's an estimated 1.3 billion people living with disabilities, and
Estimation.
Persons with disabilities are more likely, because as you mentioned employment, are more likely to experience poverty because of lack of opportunities for being employed, as well as social isolation. Not only isolation from persons treating them as different, but as well as the lack of opportunities and a feeling of shame which is associated with disability. How would you recommend to fight against that social isolation and the poverty being experienced by certain persons with disabilities?
Okay. So, like the great Albert Einstein says, in the midst of difficulties, there lies opportunities. And I'm paraphrasing here.
Mm-hmm.
So most definitely, I think this can be combated, and one of the major ways to combat this issue is for us persons with disabilities to to basically, step out and step out strong in unity, of course, and to continue to share our message that, despite all that is possibly going wrong around us, we continue to share that message of advocacy and continue to be the voice for ourselves, because at times we may not always find other people to be the voice for us, and so we have to step out and be the voice for ourselves. And of course, at times, it may look like we are doing this aimlessly, but if we continue, like I have seen, we can definitely accomplish great things. And so I say to people always, be the voice for yourself, be the voice for other people, and let's get this done, because if we continue to speak about something for 20 years, at some point change will come.
What about those who just cannot find it in themselves to speak for themselves and who stay holed up in their holes? And what do you suggest? What is an action plan you would like to see put in place to help support these people who cannot do it, who really cannot do it for themselves?
This is where the quote unquote normal public comes in, and I would say, allow somebody else to lean on you. We are all in this journey of life, and none of us is an island, so we don't stand alone. And so we should allow other people to lean on us, and of course we should be our brother's keeper. And especially in Dominica, we like to say we are a God fearing nation. And I guess most of us out there do fear God. So allow somebody to lean on you, be that sense of support, for somebody else. And of course, leave nobody behind, because in this journey of life, we all need somebody. And this is where for me, um, you know, because truth be told, each and every one of us at some point will acquire a disability, whether or not we realize it. And you just being there for somebody, sharing a meaningful word. Sometimes the little words that we think are insignificant, they can change somebody's day, they can change somebody's outlook. So it doesn't always have to be that big grand act where the entire public sees that we are standing with somebody with a disability, but just the little things, saying hi, saying hello, checking on somebody else, seeing if they need something. It's those little acts of kindness, if we'd want to put it that way, that goes a very long way. And with those simple acts, we can get big results that we never thought that we would get.
I love your answer, and so many of our guests said, brilliant answer. You're giving us great insight. You just wrapped it up so well in how the normal people can help reach out to others, and outreach is a simple thing, it's a little thing. We get so caught in our busyness, not
Yeah.
business, busyness, that we're always busy. We're running to work, we're running from work without making time out for others. And we say, oh, I don't even have time for myself. Well, that again, I have another issue with, because we always need to make time for ourselves, because if we don't take care of our own mental well being and wellness,
Certainly.
we're not
Okay.
really living, we're just really moving about, you know. And life is about living, life is about reaching
Yeah.
out to people, touching others' lives.
Like I like to say, we are in that mindset of existing and not
Yes.
living meaningfully. So I want to encourage us all to live meaningfully, and let us all be each other's keeper. For in being each other's keeper, we can get the work done much faster.
Yeah, and what we can do, we can right now sending out a challenge to all of those who are looking out there. Find some charity to help somebody, because there are so many people living within us that need help, that are less fortunate than us. Some of us, we say, oh, I don't even have, but even though we have $1, we can give 25 cents. We cannot give it today, next month we can give it. It's not only at Christmas time and at big times. Right now there's a huge fire going on in California, and we can identify with losing our homes from Hurricane Maria. It seems to
Right.
us so far away. Um, but there are people who are living constantly in that state of lack, a state of loss, living in dilapidated houses. Um, find out who these people are. I know we have a lot of pride in our communities,
Yeah.
but at the same time, a lot of people are also humble in welcoming people into their lives and accepting help.
Yeah.
So reach out to someone, go on foot. We don't have to tell everybody what we're doing. The Bible says
No.
when you pray, go to your lock your door and pray. That is a form of prayer. Action, right? Action is a form of prayer. Find out who these people are and go by yourself or two. Jesus sent out two by two, right? Get
Mhm.
somebody else with your partner and go help someone, even though it's on a Sunday, 2 hours, on a Saturday, 2 hours, on a day you have a day off. Find out who in the community who are disabled, who need help. Maybe to just go run and buy groceries. They have
Mhm.
nobody to do some errand for them. Do a small errand for someone. And those little things go a real, real long way.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
And I mean, we like to do things grand, and
Right.
I'm not telling anybody, if you are to do anything grand, don't do it. That's not my place. But what I'm saying is the little things that, sometimes we feel are insignificant. They have the biggest impacts.
Yeah.
And there are people right next to us who live next to us, and they have disabilities. Let's reach out, and let's touch somebody's life. Because at some point, each and every one of us, when God comes, will be accountable, and for what we do with this life and what we don't want. So when God asks, what did we do with our time? We have no response. It would be sad, and it would have meant that we have had many opportunities to touch and change the lives of other people, and we did nothing.
Very, very true. Remember, let me just remind you, you're looking at the youth effect with Miss Judy Sango of Dominica Association of Persons with Disability. She is the youngest president of ever of the association, and you can see how intelligent she is. And making strides, making waves, and as I like to say, the ripple effect of what the youth does. That's what the name is, the youth effect, because it's creating a ripple domino effect in terms of impacting others people's lives, encouraging and motivating people, that young people, that no matter what obstacles and challenges you believe you are going through, not you believe what that you are going through in your particular life right now, that there are other young people who are there who you can use as mentors to guide you, to support you, to encourage you. And on one of our programs before, I also encourage the adults to have a young person as their mentor. Not an older person to be a young person's mentor, a young person to be an older person's mentor, because so many times, we as adults don't fully understand the young people. What are some of the things would you say to the adults in your circle with regards to persons, young people with disabilities?
I would say that there's much to learn. Sometimes we like to think that the biggest lessons come from the older folks. I have come to realize quickly in my 24 years of life that this is not always the case.
Yes, yes.
There's much to learn from the young people, and so I want to say to the older folks out there, please be receptive to the advice and interventions of our young people, because we live in a changing world, and while you are the leaders of today, we are the leaders of tomorrow, and we are we are constantly looking at ways to make this world a better place, not just for ourselves, but for others. And so please be receptive, be open minded, and of course, use every interaction with a young person as an opportunity to learn something new. For in every interaction, there's opportunity for growth and development.
In what ways could the persons become involved, people become more involved with the association and young people with disabilities in Dominica in particular?
Of course, volunteering time and services to the association is always welcome. One can always feel free to contact the office and find out how you can become a volunteer. We are always looking for volunteers to assist with our activities and other events that we may have. Also, you can choose to basically adopt a young person with a disability and provide that guidance, because a lot of young people are looking for that meaningful guidance which will propel them in the way that they should go, because a lot of us, we have talents, we have skills, and sometimes we are just looking for that gentle push to go forward. And so you can always feel free to adopt a young person and to provide meaningful guidance. You can always you know find out ways to get involved and to share the message of advocacy, which needs to be shared with everybody. For it is through those tiny efforts that change will come about. And so, whether it is through your act of kindness, just treating somebody with kindness, or if you see somebody perhaps interacting negatively with a person with a disability, you can step in and say, hey, this is not the way it should be done. It is through those subtle and small things that we can get great results. And so I want to encourage each and every one of us, let's get involved in this whole advocacy effort and sharing the message of inclusion, not just in Dominica or in the Caribbean, but on a global scale. So yeah, this is it.
I'm going to ask you in a little bit to advise persons where the building is located, as well as the contact information. But first, I would like you mentioned about services. Sometimes we have to break down things to people and tell them, what services do you need? What kind of, so you say to offer your services, what services you see as a priority in addition to adopting a young person? What things that you would like?
Perhaps your time, your monetary assistance, this is always welcome. As some of us may be aware, DAPD is not an association that is a beneficiary of any monthly. How would I put it?
Is it not a for-profit organization?
Right, certainly.
Yeah.
Right. The word
Right.
was just not coming to
Yeah.
me. Yeah, it's a non-profit, and so of course
Right.
monetary contributions are always welcome. Volunteers are always welcome. Um, Perhaps if you have other resources that we may need, such as you know probably you are aware that we need a particular equipment to host an event, or you have a particular venue, and you know that we are hosting an event, it would be nice to have those contributions from the general public. Um, yeah,
And even offer their services in helping to organize events, make
certainly,
recommendations of donations and fundraisers and
certainly,
things like that. Yes,
yes.
um,
Certainly.
and also in donate their time in doing administrative work at the association.
Well, currently the APD does have its executive director and its administrative effort, but as far as donations goes, those are always welcomed.
Okay, all right, great. So could you tell our listening audience where the association is located, what the building is like, what vision you'll have for the building, as well as how to contact the office.
Um, so the association's building. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember the number.
It's in Canada. Yeah, it's okay. Or the telephone number.
Right, I'm just trying to remember the number. Um, the office is located on Canal Lane in Goodwill, the Commonwealth of Dominica, and the APD has its own building, um, which is which is accessible. It does come with a ramp, and upstairs of the office we have the lovely Naphtali Murthy Auditorium, which is named after my mentor and favorite advocate. Um, the Nathalie Murphy Auditorium is available to the general public for use at, of course, a small fee, which does help to generate some income for the association to help with our continued efforts to provide services and other resources to persons with disabilities. As far as the contact, I don't remember this at the moment.
I'm trying to get it too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get
I
it.
remember it myself. Yeah. Yes, but we can also go on Dominica Association of Disabled Persons and
I noticed that you keep saying disabled persons.
Dominica
However,
Association of Persons with Disabilities. I am so sorry.
I was just
It
about to say
used to be disabled persons, and then it was changed to persons with disabilities. Thank you
yes,
for the correction, because sometimes when we know something, it comes
yeah,
out subconsciously. But
yeah,
I know definitely it's persons with disabilities, not disabled
yeah,
person. Trust me.
yeah.
So I stand corrected. Thank you,
You're
persons with
welcome.
disabilities. Okay. Um, as a young person, could you
Mhm.
guide us as to what your vision is for the young sector where persons with disabilities are concerned for young people?
Certainly, I have a vision for the young people, and that would be, where every young person with a disability, regardless of our disability, becomes active in the whole movement, and because as young people, we are the leaders of the association in the future. Well, I should not say in the future, because DAPD does have a young leader, and so I should say we are the leaders of today and tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, when you mentioned that earlier about you all are the future, I always have a problem with that saying, because young persons, you all are here now,
Certainly,
you
I
know.
stand I stand corrected. Um,
Yes.
DAPD does have a young leader, and so definitely I would love to see other young people follow in my footsteps, because we need to understand that we need to continue this after. Look, somebody just put it the
Yeah, and
the
I just looked it up myself. So thank you very much, Cheryl.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. As DAPD's president, you would think I know this by heart. I'm so sorry.
Yes, the number
Um,
is 767-440-0842, and the email is dapdoffice32 at gmail.com. I still
yeah,
have this on dial, to speed dial, and it's
yeah.
shameful. I have
Um,
to put it it back in my phone.
But I would like to see a youth network where all the young persons with disabilities in Dominica, regardless of disability, become active, because we need to understand that after, quote unquote, the older persons have left, we are the ones to carry this message forward, and we are the ones to continue to champion the cause of persons with disabilities, not just ourselves but others, those who are looking to us for that leadership. And so I want to see all young persons with disabilities become active. And as president of the APD, I will and continues to play my part in that regard, in getting young people to understand that, hey, look, the APD is not just for the older folks. It is a movement that incorporates the young people with disabilities, and we too can become vibrant and active in this movement. And also, for the young persons, I would like to see, us continue to embrace young people. I often see that struggle between quote unquote, the older persons in society really embracing youth. And there's always that existing gap between the older folks and the youth. And so I want to bridge that gap between the older folks and young people, because, hey, look, there are valued contributions to be made by the young people with disabilities, and I would just like to see us work towards a more inclusive and sustainable future that, looks out for everybody and leaves nobody behind, because we are all in this together. We are all in this fight of life together. So why leave somebody else behind? I want to see us become a people, that looks out for everybody. I find as a young person that, hey, look, you know things have been done in the past, and they yield negative results. So why continue to do the same thing if we are expecting better results? So I want to see that the whole, disability disability arena change, for in a meaningful way for our young people, of course.
What is an activity that you could think of that would
Mm-hmm.
bring the young people towards the Dominican Association of Persons with Disabilities? Not, you say that yes, you want to see the young people come together. Um, what is a suggestion as to how you can bring them together? What activity, what club, what things you can do to get them interested? Because the young people have their own idea of what fun is, and if something is not fun, they're not going to come
Yeah.
together.
So, so for me, and the APD is, as we speak, working on establishing this. It is the establishment of a youth network, not something that is run by the adults, but it is run by the young people. Where the young people host their own activities and come up with their own ideas to drive the message of inclusion and equality forward. Um, you know, um, Also the membership drive, specifically targeted to the young people, coming up with slogans, and that interactive thing, the use of technology in
Right.
our efforts to bring the young people towards the APD, the use of social media platforms to create things like shorts and other short videos, that would interest other young persons with disabilities. Those are some of the things that I think of when I think of getting young people to become a part of the APD. And of course, I must make mention of having discussions with family members who don't have disabilities, because oftentimes I see the reluctance of family members, in allowing their family member with a disability to join the association, because, hey, look, we are afraid of being out there because of our disability. So I would definitely say having meaningful contributions with family members and caretakers of young persons with disabilities, helping them to understand that life is so much more than just a disability, and the quality of life that we live should never be determined by the everyday challenges that we face because of a disability that we have no control over. And so I think the shift in mindset is really key here, because if we do not have a shift in mindset, we will basically be hosting activities that will not yield any positive results, if you get where I'm coming from.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I love all those points that you made. Would you have a time frame in mind where to start creating that network? Even though it's with two people or three young people. When is your
Um,
time frame?
for the APD, we are looking at 2025 is the year for this. So at some point in 2025, we are hoping and working towards establishing our youth network, and especially because DAPD's president is not just only DAPD's president, but DAPD's president is also the president of the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Network. Um, and also I am the new president of a network that was just formed, the Ecumenical Disability Advocates Youth Network. And so, as you can tell, youth is at the center of my focus in the whole disability movement. And so for me, this is really important, and I will definitely work with DAPD being my home country to establish its own youth network, because I see the great need for young people with disabilities to become not just involved but active members in the disability movement.
And in setting the course for their own lives and creating their own
Definitely.
lives intentionally as well. And
It's
one of the big things you mentioned with regards to bringing the whole family thing in, because it's a family affair.
it
And as
is.
we mentioned earlier on, there's still a lot of shame and guilt
There.
associated with disabilities in our families, and it shouldn't.
It
It
shouldn't
really
be.
shouldn't. It
It,
shouldn't
it
be.
shouldn't be. And that is why I continue to use my own personal experiences growing up with a disability, and having, parents and siblings who and other family members who looked past my disability, and supported me and continue to do their best to this day. And this is why I continue to share my own personal experiences with other persons with disabilities and their families, because I know the importance of having a family that really supports you and motivates you in all that you do as a person with a disability.
But you have given so much insight and so much wisdom, which is one of the objectives of the youth effect, and which is what you also said in terms of bridging the gap. And this is a major, major objective of the youth effect in helping us to bridge that generational gap, in bringing out the wisdom that you all have, the younger persons have, in teaching us, the older persons, how to facilitate and how to support and how to provide the resources that you'll need. Because who better know what you need than you yourself, as you mentioned earlier? Yeah. So as we run with you gave us such a great program tonight, Judy.
Thank you.
And tell us tell us your audience where they can find you on
Okay,
your
so
platforms.
I am available on Facebook. I have two Facebook pages, one being my personal Facebook page, which is Judy Patrudi Kenisha Sango, on Facebook. And I also have my author's Facebook page, which is author Judy K. Sango. Um, and I am available on Instagram as well at it's something with a bunch of underscores. Thank you for this.
It's scrolling right now. The underscore girl, the Kanisha, the Kanisha
Thank
underscore Sango.
Right.
Yeah.
It's right
The
there.
girl Kadisha Sango with underscores in between each word.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
Okay.
So I am
Yeah.
also available on Twitter as well. You can feel free to get in contact with me there. Um, and of course, if you reach out to me via any one of my social media pages and you ask for my email, this can be readily provided to you upon request. So feel free to reach out, for anything that was discussed here tonight, and possibly, even other opportunities to collaborate for the betterment of persons with disabilities. I am more than welcome to do so. So thank you so much to those who will reach out in advance. I look forward to receiving your messages. Thank you.
Uh, we're not going yet. You're not going yet. Something I always ask
Uh-huh.
as a young person. I mean, at the end of our program, what are
Uh-huh.
3 things you would, wise words of wisdom you will give to young persons with disabilities?
Firstly, never allow your disability to define or determine who you are and what you do with life. Secondly, as a person with a disability, remain humble and, of course, serve others. For we are all put here to serve and not to be served. So even as a person with a disability, find some find something that you can do and make meaningful changes in your community. And thirdly, I would say to any person with a disability, especially our young people, you know, search deep down within yourself and find that strength to keep going. Because I understand as a young person with a disability, it is not always easy to keep going. So find that strength from within and keep going. And if perhaps you cannot find that strength from within, look up, for I am sure that God will provide that strength to you.
Definitely awesome. And to the adults, us the adults, what would you say to us?
I would say to you, you know, treat persons how you want to be treated. Because so many times I find, we treat people ways, and then when it's our turn, we expect to be treated better than how we treat others. Um, Secondly, I would say, of course, find opportunities to create change and to break those societal barriers that exist among us and in the communities where we live. And of course, lastly, I would say to you also, look for strength within, and if it cannot be found within, look up, for God will also provide you that strength.
Awesome. You are such a beautiful person, and I am
Thank
so
you.
honored to have, I want to say, we have been so honored and
Thank you.
blessed by the wisdom that you have shown and given us tonight. It's really, really a challenge that you threw out there for us to is the little things. Is the little things.
Certainly.
It's always the little things that matter. Find someone within your community who need the help, who is of lesser fortune than us, and do
Yeah,
something, do just the little
certainly.
things, even just to sit down for 2 minutes and talk to someone,
Certainly.
reduce that level of isolation and depression. So many people need that, or just to listen, just an ear. Some people just
Certainly.
need somebody to listen to them. And so I want to say thank you for blessing us tonight.
You are welcome. It was certainly a pleasure for me.
Yes, I really, really, really enjoyed listening to you and really very impressed by what you're doing, both within the local environment and on a brighter scale in terms of a spiritual level as well on a Caribbean level. I look forward to following your growth in that arena.
Thank
And I
you.
just want to remind people that Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities is located on Canal Lane at the end. You turn onto Canal, the end, the dead end, Canal Lane. And
Very
the
true.
telephone number is 767-440-0842. And the email is dapdoffice32 at gmail.com. We can always do a little thing. We can always, the little we do, as I say, the little is a lot. Never
Certainly.
say we haven't got enough. If it's 10 cents, you have dropped 10 cents in the box. 10 cents added by 10 is $1. And this goes a long
Mm.
way. So I want to say thank you to all of our listeners who have been with us tonight and keep on being with us every Monday night at 8:30. Judy stayed up an extra hour because in Dominica right now it is 11 o'clock.
I am
And
usually still up at this time, so it's okay.
it was okay. So we want to thank you so much, though. Still,
You're
it's your
welcome.
personal
You're
time that you
welcome.
choose to share that with us.
And
And
I too want to join in and say thank you to you. Thank you for the warm invitation. To sit with you and discuss a topic which is of great importance, not just to me, but to other persons with disabilities. So thank you for allowing me to sit here tonight and share with you in my capacity as DAPD's president.
thank you so much for accepting.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And our conversation was long in coming because we had a little shortcoming before. And so
Yeah,
everything, as I say, is as its right time. So
certainly.
thank you once again. And if
You're
there's
welcome.
anything we can do in terms of helping to raise awareness of broadcasting, anything in terms of activities, developing your youth network, I would welcome you back again to speak
Sure,
about it, to raise a level of awareness, have a marathon, or do something in that regards. You can
sure,
audience can, if you want to also give your suggestions and give your support, you can also email us at the youth effect 767 at gmail.com. That's the youth effect 767 at gmail.com. If you cannot remember, the number is the area code for Dominica 767, so you wouldn't forget that. The youth effect 767 at gmail.com. Be a part of the movement for young people. And thank you so much. You're already playing your part in being here with us tonight, in listening to Miss Judy Sango, the president of the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities. I got it right, didn't I?
yes,
Yes.
you do.
And I look forward so much for you coming back with us next week for another wonderful, awesome program with another one of our awesome young persons. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Remember, you're looking at the Youth Effect on TDN Media Network, who is our producers. I want to thank our producers so very much for also giving me the opportunity to bring the voice of the young people to you. Come back next week, wherever you're looking at, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Roku, VStreams, Canada. Thank you so much, wherever you are, in whatever part of the world you are. Also, let us be mindful of all these people who are going through all the natural disasters around the world, especially right now, the fires in different parts of Canada, California, that's blazing and taking people's homes. Someone in the Caribbean who we've had a Category 5 hurricane and we have lost tremendously. And also, many of us are still recovering from our losses from Hurricane Maria. We can identify with being displaced and having a lot of loss in our lives. So let us be compassionate and remember these people from California and other areas in the world who are going through war, poverty, and loss in our everyday lives. Let us live our lives intentionally. Remember what Miss Sango said to us: be intentional in the little things that we do every minute of every day because life is not guaranteed. So, with that said, I want to wish you a very, very good night and have an awesome, awesome week. Be intentional and be on purpose. Have a lovely week. Good night.
Yeah, yeah, wouldn't end. We back with another one for the youths in them. Yeah, young, brilliant minds, future in sight. Got the power to make change, make the world ignite. Let nobody say you can't achieve. Your dreams are seeds, sow and just watch them grow. But you gotta believe in the youth effect. We're raising up the youth effect. Can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Educate, we get the key, unlock the potential. A lesson every day, knowledge essential. Standing tall, walking proud, let your voice be heard. Unite together as one, spread the love with every word. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Educate, we get the key, unlock the potential. A lesson every day, knowledge essential. Standing tall, walking proud, let your voice be heard. Unite together as one, spread the love with every word. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Create, initiate, push through, no limits. Go ahead and live it up. Respect, positivity, you on your way. Break down walls, build bridges.
For you,